Okay. Welcome to the January Eclectix Book Club discussion for Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. We did start recording. So, as I was saying, like you don't have to turn your camera on. You don't have to turn your camera on. You don't have to turn your microphone on if you don't want to. You can just like hang out, use the chat box if you want, and then discuss that way. It's really just a chill environment, and we just come to ramble. So that's great. So Mickey said, my first question was just what, like, how did you feel about the book by the end of it? And Mickey's gonna start us off. She said it's been on her TBR for years. She listened to the audiobook and it was everything she needed with Chef's Kiss. And so I'm the same way. I actually read it a few years ago. I read the physical a few years ago, and then I listened to it through like Spotify audiobooks, which I love the Spotify's audiobooks now. Like that's really a game changer for me. Like I need all of my benefits from my membership. Yes, Sarah. Yes, yes, yes. So I'm getting all of my benefits from that membership. But yeah, I listened to it on there and at first like I've always been like I don't really know how I feel about audiobooks. It's hard for me to stay invested and really like get lost in a book. But yeah, Spotify has it now. And so like when I've been driving, I've been listening to it and like I love that it's narrated by her. So it just felt like I was on the phone with somebody and they just telling me their life story and just breaking everything down for me. That's what it felt like. And so I really, really did enjoy the audiobook. Like I enjoyed reading it, but then like even with the audiobook, they were like playing her actual speeches. And I loved that. I was like, oh, okay, like, am I getting older? Am I getting older? Is that what that means? Like saying yes to audiobooks? Was that my first like saying yes moment? Like saying yes to audiobooks. So it was like really nice to just listen to it. Yes, it was just like a personal phone call. I was just like, I'm really, really feeling it. Um, I
I
went
think audiobooks are getting to John Shade level now because at first it was just like we read them, but her
yeah,
adding that like extra layer or like really people are doing like audio dramas and
yes.
like a cast. So you held out.
I held out for a good reason. I was waiting for it to be good, but I think like that may be my like avenue. Like it has to be memoirs. And it has to be someone that I'm actually interested in as a person, not just their figurehood or whatever, like who they are in the world, but like why am I interested in this person? Like it can't just be any old memoir. Otherwise, I'm not gonna really care. But this one was, yeah, this was perfect for audio. Yeah. I think like it was nice. Like I feel like a lot of us like had it on our TBR or like we got it when it first came out and it received all this praise because I did read it back then, but like and it like gave me some motivation. But like this time around, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because it's the beginning of a new year and like I'm already in like this goal setting mind state, but like just being able to like really see how much she changed from like being introduced to this concept of saying yes to the very end of her memoir where it's like oh I don't have these same like feelings of nerves when I'm going into interviews like I don't have to like rely so much on doing like the Superman pose like she just felt like naturally where she was supposed to be and that was inspiring enough for me. Yeah. Mickey said you have to be in the right mindset to receive stuff. If I would have read this a few years ago when I originally wanted to, it wouldn't have hit the same. And that's exactly it. Like there's a time and a place for every book, like, and not even just like this memoir specifically, but like even when we sit in DNF books, especially books where everyone's like, oh, this was such a good book. How didn't you finish it? And it's just like because the timing wasn't right. The timing wasn't right. So even just like with Shonda, like there was moments in her life where like I was really like stunned by the chapter where it was like yes to saying no. Like it's okay to say no. Like the book is not just about like just blindly say yes to every single thing. Like being aware enough, like having enough self-awareness to say like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. and this is why I'm not gonna do that. And it makes like it has to make sense to you, and you don't have to over explain yourself to nobody else. Like I really love when she said that because I catch myself doing that. I honestly had a girl reach out to me and was like, I can't make it to either of the book clubs. Is there any way we can meet up? And so old me would have immediately been like, yes, even though I know like February is like jam packed for me, I would have been like, yes, absolutely, we can meet up, knowing that that's gonna cause me like stress down the line because I already am short on time. So it was just like I can't really say yes, but then it was like, okay, I've made the decision that I'm gonna tell her no. And then I was about to start like, no, and this is why I can't do it. Like just giving a full, and it's just like, no is no. Like, no, I can't do that. And it's like, no, I just don't have the availability. But like I can say, no, I don't have the availability. But I was going into, no, I don't have availability because I gotta do XYZ, 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 XYZ. And it's just like, I don't have to do that. And she's also not expecting me to, like, she opened that door, like, do you have the time? And it's either yes or no. She's already mentally prepared for whichever answer I have. You know what I mean? So it was just like that, that section alone, like being comfortable enough to say no really stuck out to me because I was just like, I gotta learn how to say no to people because I'm always saying yes and just overcommitting myself. So did like that. Did any of y'all have a favorite, like, I guess it's not really a chapter, but a section from Year of Yes? Victoria, I'm with you. Like, saying no is like something like that requires a lot of work, especially like I know like people pleasing has a bad, but like it's really people pleasing, like just no longer people pleasing and be like, okay, no, I can't do it. And that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with saying no. Where I struggle with it is at work. And so the fact that she was telling it from a personal and professional standpoint is just like, okay, like having a firm cutoff time of work. Like, oh, I'm not doing anything beyond this time. I don't care if an email comes through, even when you are seen as an entrepreneur or just someone like you don't have set business hours, people expect. Or I don't even think people expect, like you kind of like set these expectations for yourself of like, well, I am technically available. Like I've already seen the email. Maybe I should respond right away. And it's just like, no, you don't have to. You have to set those boundaries for yourself and be like, no, I'm not doing that. But yes, I will reach back out to you once I'm available to. But yes, Rod says she offered nuance and range so that people cannot attach to an extreme in their yeses. Boundaries around yes and no are imperative. And I totally agree with that.
I think it was the yes to her older child that she kind of started that bend of like, yes looks different.
Mm-hmm.
And that it wasn't, she said, every time my child asked me, will you play with me? She said yes. But then when her older child was like, will you, I don't know, will you come sit with me or like come in my room? She was like, that's the same as, will you play with me? And that I feel like was the part of the book where I could identify like, yes, looks different.
Yeah.
That like, especially with my kids getting older, it really resonated.
I agree because it was the part where she was supposed to go to an award show and she was already like dressed that and then she was like her daughter just came out and was like, will you play with me? And it made me think about my daughter. I don't know how many other people here are moms, but like she was like basically like her daughter didn't address her in a way that she normally does. Like she didn't call her, was it honey? Like she didn't call her honey, and it was just like, oh, my daughter has already changed so much and she's only 3 years old. Like she's not saying the phrases that she used to. So it's like she decided that it was better for her to be late to this engagement that she was supposed to be at. And it was more important for her to say yes to her daughter in that moment because like you got to have that balance. And I feel like I'm in that same boat of like balancing motherhood and just like professional endeavors. And it's like, okay, how often do I say no? And how often do I say yes? And like, am I saying yes with enthusiasm or am I like rolling my eyes like I really don't want to play with you? Like that was some like self-evaluation for me right there. I was like, okay, like just because everything else is stressing me out, my child is just an innocent little child. Like she just wants to play. She just wants to play. She just wants some quality time. And so like reading it from that perspective was just like, okay, like there are times where you should say yes, and like someone is gonna get the short end of the stick. And it was that engagement, and she was okay with that. And that's fine. Yeah, Mickey said the same thing. As a mother, that part resonated with her. And it was just like, because time really does move fast. And I think like everyone around Shonda was concerned about like the absence of joy. The absence of joy because she always said no. She was so invested in her work that she didn't have like the balance of all of these other people and things that she did care about in her life. And so she was missing out on the joy of those. Um, Mickey also said, and it hit even more when her youngest said to her that she didn't ask me for something because he didn't want to come, he didn't want to be want to annoy. That hurt because I don't want my kids to ever feel like a burden to me. And that is really deep. Like I'm always like, okay, like I don't want them to get like the bad, like a bad, like just because the rest of my day was bad doesn't mean like my daughter needs to get a bad version of me or like I need to take it out on her. And so like I can only imagine like how that felt like to say like because they're just so innocent, but it's just like, oh, your child is just expressing their emotions. And it's just like once they start expressing those big emotions, it's just like, oh my goodness, like that's how I'm making you feel. Like, how do I fix this? How do I fix it fast? And so yeah, yeah. That's so funny. Like I don't have a son, I just have my daughter, but like my nephews also Beyblade, but they are like they had a Beyblade tournament like a few weeks ago and they let my daughter come and they was just like, although there's no girls allowed, we'll allow you to come. And I'm just like, okay, let her come. But kids are just funny and Beyblading is very serious. So I'm glad you was able to play with them. Ra also said, I appreciated when she started to develop self-awareness so much that she was able to better filter through her external relationships. Building a better relationship with herself helped her to become more aware of what she wanted in outside connections. She was able to see and release obstructionism. And that part where it was like she realized like marriage is not for me, I feel like that is so like against what people expect all women's dreams and hopes in life are to be. She was like, I wanted to be a mom. Like, I wanted to be a mom, but like, she drew the line at being a wife. And I was like, more power to you, like to be able to just like comfortably express that in your book and just like let everybody know, like, hey, this is my norm. Like this is what I'm saying no to, and I'm okay with that. Granted, it did take her a while to build up that courage because it's still just like once you have that realization like oh like this is going to impact someone else like how do I say that and then like she was always digging deeper into like the why behind her yeses and the why behind her nos. I agree, Victoria. She was like expressing a lot about herself and getting into like a lot of details that I think some people just wouldn't want to share because of judgment. But like at this point and where she is in this journey of year of yesing, it was just like people's judgment didn't matter. It was just like her being able to like stand within her truth and just like allow herself to exist as she is. She did. Rob pointed out that Shonda said that she danced out that thing and she was clapping. Like she really did dance it out. Like, and I think it's okay to celebrate sad moments. I think it like she was just like, yeah, it's okay. Like I didn't cry. I just danced about it. Like she was free, he was free. Was he crying? Probably. But she also realized like she played a role in like the version of her that he thought that she was. He was just like, "Oh, I thought you were more like committed to like a lifestyle like this where you would be a wife." And it's just like, "No, that's really not who I am." And it was just like kind of unrecognizable of herself.
Yeah, he was like, I thought you was more traditional than that. She was like, no.
Yeah, I'm
He was
not.
like, I'm quiet, not traditional. I'm working through things internally though, boo boo. Let me get you together. I need
Yeah,
to break up.
I got some things I'm working on. You can take this ring back.
Exactly. But she also, I appreciated that she also did that while being gentle with him. She
Hmm.
knew he was a good man. She meant him no harm, but him being good, him not meaning any harm wasn't valued more than her truth. And a
Yeah.
lot of women need to sit in those kinds of truths. They need to choose themselves. And that's all she was doing throughout this whole book was learning how to choose herself.
Hmm. I agree. I agree because it's just like it, like women are supposed to like just submit and just like do these things for everybody else, especially like as a woman who is a mom, but like she's also like she's a really big figure. So it's just like she was talking about her relationships with her friends or the people she thought were her friends and just like saying, okay, well, I have to did this relationship and like that like constant of having to did relationship after relationship after relationship can be exhausting, and to see that like she was okay with letting all of those relationships go because she knew it wasn't right for her, that really struck a chord for me because it's just like sometimes you have to let people go. Like everybody's not meant to stay and everybody doesn't wish you well, and everyone is not meant to fit into the life that you have planned for yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, the question kept seeming to be like in every section, what is a boundary or what boundary am I applying right now? And
Mhm.
how do I make sure I continually implement it? And luckily, she had friends who were like, girl, don't forget to implement that boundary. Remember, you set that goal for yourself. Let's make sure that you're sitting and situating yourself into that. So I really, really appreciated that for not only herself, but for the people around her. We don't often have people around us who are recognizing that we are wanting to change or trying to develop, and they're cheering us on. Oftentimes, people want you to remain being the way that you've been behaving because they've been benefiting from that in some way. But instead, she actually had people that was like, girl, do you really like him? Or girl, do you want to wear that dress? Or do you want to give that speech? Or why don't you see that you're capable of doing XYZ when you've already done so much? She was also really tackling imposter syndrome. So I
Yes.
really appreciated that too.
Yes. And all of her speeches too, it was just like she's getting these awards because she's the only black woman, or like you're breaking glass ceilings, like you're doing this, and it's just like she's like, how am I doing that? Like I was just born a black woman, but like it, like having that piece where it's just like I'm a black woman, yeah, so what? But it's just like that's a big deal, like as a black woman to be in these spaces and to take up the amount of space that you are taking up. Like her going through that, her going through that and just being transparent with us, about like realizing like, oh, like I am in these rooms, I am sitting with these people, like I do deserve to be here. Um, it's still Yeah, Victoria, we has mentioned that like earlier in the discussion, just like how the audiobook had like her actual speeches in there. And we really did enjoy that because it was just like I feel like even listening to those speeches as they were going, like as we were going through the book, like even the way that she was speaking about herself and accepting these awards or accepting her placement in these rooms, it was just like, okay, like just listening to her grow as a person and as a showrunner. Did anyone else like has anyone else watched Grey's Anatomy or Scandal or How to Get Away with Murder? Not in the gym, you know. Yes, the Scandal. So like I actually loved all the ways that she was tying it back into all of her shows. Like especially Grey's Anatomy, because I'm one of those people. I watched Grey's Anatomy from beginning to end probably about like 7 times now. And it's just one of my comfort shows. But yeah, I watched all of her shows, but Grey's Anatomy is that one. And so like just the way that she tied herself into Christina Yang and just like her ability to choose herself and choose her job and choose what she wanted to do, and how those characters were a part of like they were basically a part of her and who she was and what she was saying yes to.
I loved her talking about Sandra Oh and that character. And I didn't watch it, but as somebody who writes scripts, it's like so no, and like my characters aren't forever either. They're like so quick,
Mhm.
but there's such a connection there, even with an actor that's very quick. That I want to go watch it. Any of them.
No, like even just when she was going in to choose the actress to play Christina Yang, and she was like, I don't know why this other person just doesn't fit, but they just don't fit. And like her making that grand decision where it's like, I don't want this actress, find me someone else. And then the very next day she lands Sandra Oh. And it's just like, if she never spoke up for herself, oh, you're a fine girl. Welcome to the book club party. But um no, just being able to see the way like, oh, you put your foot down and then like this is what happens next. Like you get someone who brings that character to life the way that you envisioned it and had no idea. Yes, Mickey. Mickey said I loved her talking about wanting to live in Vermont. So much of herself are in these characters. The way Olivia talks is all Shonda. Yes. Yes. Like all of these and like knowing that like this character building, like creating all of these characters began like as a child for her in that pantry with all of the canned goods. It was just like, okay, okay, like she's been like creating stories. She's been like creating a world for herself that didn't feel so isolating. And now she's able to create characters that we get to experience on TV, and just creating a world for all of us to enjoy.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
For those people who watch the shows, did you hear my son say yeah?
No, I'm
Oh,
laughing at the comments because LaShara said, at this point, I'm a
oh,
doctor. I think we all doctors. After Grey's Anatomy, we all doctors.
yeah, because Shonda definitely was like, because I'm a doctor, because I've written about it so many times.
Yes.
But those of you who've watched it, do you feel like you can tell in the show, or do you feel like, I don't think she said anything about it, that when her yeses started, did her writing change, or did something start or stop in the shows?
I think more so like I don't think her yeses really translated so much into all of her shows. I think a lot of her yeses was more so behind the scenes and like in her personal life and execution. But I will say like there are moments where like Meredith Grey changes, like where she changes as a person and she's being more firm because in the very beginning, like season one, like she's honestly like a very meek and like I don't like a weak character. Like she's a very weak character. Like she doesn't really stand up for herself much, but like just the way that she grows and progresses in the show, she becomes more like of a leader. Like everyone else around her can see that she's a leader, but then she starts actively being a leader. So maybe that's part of like the yeses for Meredith's character. But I think Shonda is more like Christina Yang was her. Like Meredith is like a part of her, but
So
Christina.
Alexis told me he wants you to sit behind the bench in case.
Oh, mute it. Okay. Um, did anyone else have any like did you pick up on anything in any of the shows like How to Get Away with Murder or Scandal? Like I feel like we've seen like kind of a regression, if you will, with Olivia Pope's character. Just because she starts out like very strong, like she starts out as this very strong woman, and then there's points within the show where like she's forced to like dial it down a bit, like when she gets kidnapped and stuff, like there's those moments, there's those moments where she has to like, and then like Fitz is like her, what's the word I'm looking for? Achilles heel. Like Fitz is just like this part of her that like kind of always brings her back a bit. But I think that each of those like main characters are definitely, they're all a part of Shonda. Oh, can you explain more? Tried to watch Private Practice. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Private Practice is basically like a spinoff of Grey's Anatomy, where Derek Shepherd's wife, Addison, moves to California and like starts working for a private practice. But why do you think Addison from Private Practice is such a great reflection of Shonda? And I know we're supposed to be talking about the book, but it's like you can't talk about Shonda Rhimes without talking about her shows. Like it's a big part of who she is. Okay. So she says that she was a no person in the beginning of her character building. So Addison's character was, but yeah, I feel like Addison just like it, like the spinoff, it was just like in such a weird place in her life because it was like what you think of as a midlife crisis, like just doing something impulsively. I mean, I guess cheating on your husband can also be a midlife crisis, but whatever. And just coming back from that. Mm, I'm looking through my
I
questions.
guess maybe it can go back to like when she decided that she didn't want to marry and she just wanted to be a mother and that's all she cared about. Like
Hmm.
maybe in private practice, the character kind of relates to her because she did what she did, but then she stepped out on her own and, I guess had to stand strong in who she was. And like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like she pretty much had to be strong for herself because like
Hmm.
you said, it seems like she was going through a midlife crisis and like everybody didn't agree with her actions, but she had to follow through.
And now that you say that, it just made me remember that in the book she was saying how like she was talking to her sister and she was like basically she was alone, like she was a single mom, she was alone. And then in private practice, we get to see Addison also in this mind state of being alone, but like she has all of this in there, like it's kind of like a found family, like all of this other support, all of these other people who are loving and doting on her and who want to see her be successful. And it's just like you're not really as alone as you think you are. And she does say that like most of her characters are like these women who are professional badasses. However, they are seemingly or they appear just alone when in all actuality they have all of these loving people around them. Um, I wonder if she'll ever create a show with a male lead. Yeah, they have community. They just don't know how to reach out. Like the people are there, they just don't recognize that they have these people there. And I think like she uses that learning that learning from her year of yes and writing her shows now and just like I think all of her characters eventually have that like switch where it's like okay, I have all of these people. Do you all think that's like a universal thing, like every person has that realization like oh, I do have a community, like I do have this set of people here who really wish me well?
Definitely. My affirmation for like the last month or so has been like, I ask for help whenever I need it because I'm somebody who doesn't ask for help, but then I complain that nobody helps. But it's like, you're not asking, so how are they going to know that you need help?
I love that. When's the last time you asked for help? You don't have to tell us like what the help was, but like, have you noticed like an increase in the amount of times you're asking for help? And like, is it hard to do?
It's definitely not as hard as I thought it was. And it actually helps my day to day because then I don't feel like everything is on me.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's relieving. I love that for you. That may be my next yes. Yeah, like I need to start like I was on live yesterday with my friends Wale and Morgan, and Wale was just telling us how she outsources like some of her editing because like although she wants to be in control of everything, she just doesn't have the capacity to do so. So like I feel like this is a theme in the week for me. Like just I keep encountering people who are like, no, like I get help, I get assistance when I need it because I'm the same way. Like I'm just like I don't have anybody to ask to help me with anything. I can't rely on anybody. Like if I want something executed the way that I want it to look, like I have to do it. Like that's the only way it's gonna be good. And it's just like that's not true. Like it's okay to like release yourself sometimes because you're doing more harm to yourself by trying to do it all alone, especially when you don't have to.
It's also perfection mentality and
Yeah.
letting go of when I became uh I was a co-teacher, but then when I became a head teacher, I was like, oh, I don't get to do the fun stuff like make the boards and laminate and cut and do all this stuff because other people can do that. And it doesn't look the way that I want it to, but I got so much other stuff to do.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, Mickey, that is definitely the name of your memoir, like something like I asked for help and everything wonderful that's come from that.
My year of asking. My year of asking.
I actually just made that a goal for one of my students because he doesn't get anything right, but he just has such confidence that he's like, I'm going to answer it all the time. And I'm like, you guys, once a day, you have to ask someone for help. Like you're in middle school, you can raise your hand and say, I didn't hear that. I can ask for help. And slowly,
Yeah. And I think that's good advice to like get early on in life too. Like it's okay. You don't know it all. You don't have it all and you don't have to have it all. Like you can reach out to someone else and get that assistance. So good for you, Sarah. Like cuz I can only imagine like what it is like dealing with a group of kids daily, but to like give them that advice is helpful. I wonder what I'd be like if I had that advice earlier on in life. Um,
I mean, I'm good at giving advice. I just not good at taking it. So,
I feel like that's most people.
yeah.
It's, take your own advice. It's like, I tried, but you take my advice instead.
I did ask my like supervisor in my first year. I was like, "Hey, where's the job where I can tell everybody what to do, but I don't do it myself?" And he was literally like, it's a position, but it's also like a CEO. You know, you got to work your way up to the top to be
Yeah,
the one calling all the shots, but you don't do it. You just tell people what to do. And I'm like, "Mm, some of that."
yeah. You'll get there. If you really want it, you'll get there. Let's see. Were there any other moments from the book that like stuck out to you all? Or where it was like, okay, this is a lesson or a yes that I want to apply to my own life?
I just wanted to praise her love and how much she doted on and spoke about Jenny McCarthy and the person and I was just like so thankful for that, even though she kept saying her name every time I'd pick the book back up. I'm like, why are we talking about oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're talking about Jenny again?
No, because
Yeah,
I
I
keep
had to run
it's
to
like
Google
so
because I'm like, Jenny McCarthy watched your kids?
right, then I remember, oh right, because she explains it.
Yeah.
I liked in chapter 2 when she was pretty much complaining. She was like how you don't have excuses. She was like people like Malala, Mother Teresa, like they all have their hardships and they still manage to find a way to like see the positive in life. So she's like, why am I sitting here complaining about things? That hit. And then I took some notes. Oh, when she talked about complimenting, like taking compliments from people, she's like, nobody's obligated to compliment you. So if somebody sees something that they like about you, like take it for what it is. And then I just also really liked the speech that she ended up doing at the graduation. Like I thought it was amazing. She was talking about successful people and being doers instead of dreamers.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, dreamers tend to stare at the sky and they hope and talk about it endlessly, but they never actually do it.
And that's so funny that you pointed that out because like I said, I read the physical a few years ago and I had highlighted that. I highlighted that portion. And then while I was listening to the audio, I was like, wait, let me try to jot this down again because like that speech like really stuck out with me yet again. It's just like you have to do like it's a like you can dream all day. You can dream as much as you want to, but you have to do at the end of the day. And it made me think, I was like, who spoke at my who spoke at my college graduation? Because I do not know. I do not remember.
I don't remember either. I remember vaguely like he spoke about himself, but it was like very long-winded and it was
Hmm.
here's all my achievements and nothing really to do with the graduation. It was
Yes,
like a resume.
yes.
I remember my undergrad graduation, and it was my email for the longest, and it was find humor, just like you need to find the humor in your life, because if you go through and have these negative experiences and like people might get your name wrong. I just remember that part. She like someone got her kid's name wrong, but it was like funny um, to find that. And then for my graduate degree, Neil deGrasse Tyson spoke,
Hmm.
and it was so amazing to hear him actually speak about I would rather somebody who could use what they knew and the resources they had to figure something out than somebody who just knows everything. And that was really, really empowering hearing it from him. To be like, he's so smart, he knows so many things, and just to have somebody that's like, it's okay if you don't know things. You just need to like have the knowledge to be able to try to figure it out.
Hmm. And Alicia said, I loved her speech at the award ceremony. It showed how great a person she is and how acceptable the compliment is. It makes me want to like because I was like, while I was reading, I was just like, okay, like maybe like I should start complimenting people more. Like I feel like I always want to say something to people, but I'm just like scared of how it's going to be received or like how they're going to take it. I know. Sarah, why would you make your eyes big? So so it's just like it's just like, oh, like how do I say this? Like how do I just go ahead and do that? And I think that's just like the fear because like she did talk about the fear a lot like in her book like just like having to deal with fear and like the self-doubt of the things instead of just like doing it. And I think that's how I come back to the speech of like dreamers and doers and thinkers and whatnot, just because like just do it. Like I may be the first person that complimented them in like 3 months or so, like just go ahead and say what you want to say.
I think another part that really resonated with me in this book was the part where she talked about having those uncomfortable conversations because I feel like for me, I am not confrontational at all. Like I would avoid anything with conflict, but like it was this one quote that I actually took a picture of and she said, because no matter how hard a conversation is, I know on the other side of that difficult conversation lies peace, knowledge, an answer is delivered, character is revealed, truths are formed, and misunderstandings are resolved. And I literally told myself before this year even started, like, okay, girl, like, you got to have these difficult conversations, even if you don't want to, because at the end of that, it's peace or it's an answer. And so, like, reading that was just like a confirmation, like, yeah, keep saying yes to that.
Like I love how like books gives us the little signs that like we need it and that like we already knew and then it's like okay, there's the confirmation I needed like so that I can have these uncomfortable conversations and know that whatever's on the other side of it is better. It may not be peaceful immediately, but it relieves you of that stress and that pain. Like just keeping it like bottled in, like it does help.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's so much to take away from Shonda in this book. And I know like I had mentioned that this is like the perfect book for like people in their 20s and 30s, but I think this is a good book for like any woman to read at any point in their lives. Like I feel like this is something like you should read probably in every decade to remind yourself that like you are in control of your life and like how you want it to go is truly up to you. And oftentimes on the other side of like no's or things that you're putting off, and like I just think like this is just one of those books like it just like it really hits a lot of things that like women often aren't like trying to acknowledge, or they're just kind of like going through the motions. Because I think when we meet Shonda in the beginning of the book, it's just like she's just going through the motions. She's being a showrunner, like she's doing all of these things, like she's writing these phenomenal stories, but it's just like, who are you outside of your like professional achievements? Who are you outside of that? Like, who are you to yourself? Who are you to the people that you love? Who are you to the people that you may not like? Like, how are you actually showing up? Like, or are you just like constantly going? Because like her metaphor that she was using is just like the laying of the track and being the train and constantly like keeping the show going. And it's like, well, if you take that metaphor of being a train, like when are you resting as a train? When are you resting and when are you taking care of yourself instead of just laying down track for what's to come next? So I did like that metaphor. I think it's going to stick with me. I'm probably going to use it a lot. Yes, the conversation with Dolores at the end. Are you talking about specifically when Dolores was basically like, "Oh, I didn't give you the advice to do that. Like I basically like just gave you permission because it seemed like you were waiting for permission." Is that
Yes, that one. Because it's like, after that, I'm like, dang, that's a really interesting way to look at it. Like, this whole
Mhm.
time, like, she knew that she wanted to have a better life, live, you know, without fear. And the whole time, her sister knew that as well and knew that she wanted that. So it was like, yeah, like, girl, I was just giving you the permission that you thought that you wanted. Like, say yes to everything. Because I think she said that she was alive, like living, but she was sleeping or something like that. And yeah, I really love that conversation at the end.
Yeah, it was just like Dolores is basically like you didn't have any joy. Like there was nothing like outside of your shows, like you didn't exhibit joy, like you didn't look alive, you didn't look, like you were really like she was basically, what did she say? She said it like life is short and yours just seemed like shorter. Cause like,
Yeah.
and I was just out that stuck out to me too, because I was just like, oh, Dolores is really an older sister. Like she's really telling you about yourself and what you need to hear. And I think it was also like in part, like it was also like not really like a dig at her, but it was also a compliment, like, oh, like you are now a better person, like you made that choice all on your own, like it had nothing to do with me, like take all of that credit for yourself, like don't thank me for giving you advice, all I did.
Yeah, because I think she said you did the work.
Yeah, it's like, look at you and who you are now, and it's because you decided to do that, not because of anything that I said.
But you also need that person in your life that will hold that mirror up,
Mm-hmm.
to have somebody to validate. So it's nice that she has that community. And
Yeah.
and her older sister who was like very motherly. Like she was so much older than her, right? Yeah.
Yes. But then she also described her at one point as like having a child, like she was one of her children, but it's just like like you're also her child. Like it kind of like works the same. Like those imbalances of power, like it kind of shifts back and forth between the two of them of like, oh, I'm leading you. No, I'm leading you. No, I'm leading you. I'm leading you. And it's just like you're working together. It's in tandem. What really shocked me Well, that I laughed about was like the friend who asked her for an outrageous amount of money. She was just like, she told the friend no, and her friend was just like, the friend was like, I was using you anyways. That would have hurt my feelings.
I think I missed that it was money. I remember her being like, these are my three best friends, and I thought that they were, and then there was just one that I realized wasn't. I didn't realize that is that the story part?
I
And
don't
then she
think,
called her. No, okay.
no, it was just like somebody did ask her for money, and it was just like an amount of money that she wouldn't have been comfortable giving out to anyone, or even just an amount she would feel comfortable spending on herself. And it was just like no, and then the friend was just like, I'm pretty sure, I feel like the friend did read the book. Victoria said that was so crazy. I wonder if the friend read the book. I I'm sure she did, because that sounds like something a hater would do. Like just let me see what she's talking about. Let me see if I made the cut. Like, because if you're kind of that nasty, and she's probably going around telling people that's me. She wrote about me. Yeah, we used to be friends. Or just like retelling it from her perspective, like, oh, let me tell you what really happened. It's just like, girl. But to be in that position, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of like wolves around her that are just like trying to use her to get indoors.
I think what really made me smile about like that whole situation was her ride or dies. They were like, "Oh girl, like we was just waiting on you to realize that she wasn't really your friend." And it's just like, dang, like you really need people like that in your circle that's, gonna look out for you, even like the friends that are moving shisty, to let them know, like, yeah, those aren't your friends.
But then like also giving her like the space to figure it out on her own.
Right, to figure it out on your own.
Because it's also like when, like as a friend, like when do you tell someone like, oh, like I don't think that's a good person to be around. Like you don't want to do it too late, but you also want to give them the space to like see it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But without anything tangible, it was just like, it's just a icky feeling. Like there's just something that's
Mhm.
not like joyful about this person. And then when the thing happened, then they were like, okay, now you see.
Now it makes sense. Like I knew I didn't like you for some reason. I knew it was something about you. Mm. Let me see. I want to make sure I got through all my questions. Mm. So now that we've finished the book and we all like have these realizations of things that we want to say yes to and things that we want to say no to, how do you all think like moving forward, you as an individual can hold yourself accountable to saying yes? Because not everyone around you read this book with you. Not everyone around you is committing to this year of yes. So how do you keep yourself in this space of like, oh, I'm going to say yes, or I'm going to enforce boundaries here, or I'm going to speak up here. I'm going to give compliments there. Like, how are you going to do that for yourself moving forward after reading this? I'll start with me. So I think for me specifically, like I am going to start saying yes to saying no. That's my biggest thing. It's like saying yes to saying no, and also like saying yes to things that keep me connected to my daughter. And just making sure that I'm prioritizing that relationship and like just putting all of these professional things like not behind me or completely off, but just like last year I spent a lot of my time like putting intro to eclecticism and everything first. So it's just like I'm gonna do like monthly check-ins and just like making sure that I'm like kind of journaling and sitting with myself and making sure like, oh, did I like plan out some intentional time with my daughter? It was like, yes, no, like, because I already like split up my time with her dad. So it's just like, am I making sure that I'm giving her the quality time? Did I make sure that I play with her? Like, just making sure that I'm checking in and making sure that that's good. And then just for me, as far as my yes to saying no goes to me being organized and using my calendar thoroughly. So like knowing like, okay, like I have I have to work all week, but then I have four things on four different evenings. Like, should I add something else, like a hangout? Like, should I do that, or should I take some time to actually like woo-saw and not go out or not grab lunch or dinner with certain people just because I haven't had the time to do so? So just like making sure I'm using my calendar. That's what I'm gonna do to make sure that I'm not overextending myself or just putting too much on my plate before I can really digest what's already there.
I love that idea with the check-ins. I feel like that's kind of what I've been starting to do now, just like doing like weekly check-ins or just like reflecting at the end of my day. And so one of my things is like specifically with the speech that she's did about like the dreamers and the doers. I'm saying yes to doing more in like my career. My goals is to be a professional dancer. And so I feel like I have this fear of like pushing out more content. And I guess the fear kind of stems from like people seeing like, you know, where I am now, my imperfections, and just like being seen in general. And so I love, you know, the idea that she said about like, you know, if you want to have a job, just doing like any job and just like giving like different ideas of how you can proceed to get to where you want to go. And so I guess the way that I will start checking and making sure that I'm holding myself accountable is just like doing weekly check-ins and saying, okay, well, setting like a content calendar or like whatever it is that I'm trying to do and saying, okay, how did you move towards this goal? And if I still feel like I'm in that same space, like just coming out with more steps, like, okay, like how can I, you know, get closer to my goals?
Yeah, and I like that, like even just breaking it down into smaller goals to make sure that you get to the bigger goal. And just start small. Like it's okay to like start out with like your content not being perfect or you appearing perfect. Like I feel like it's always going to be something that you can nitpick about your content because I still do it, but it's just like just post it. Just post it. It's out there. It's
Mm-hmm.
out there, and there's going to be people who appreciate what you share. Like there are times where I'm like, "Oh, like y'all care about my thoughts?" And I'm just like, hold on. Like in at that point, it's like posting the content for you. I think once you start posting the content for you, it's just like that changes everything. It's just like whether this gets a like or it gets 10 likes or whatever the case may be, like it's just like I posted this for me. Like I wanted this out there because I liked it or I want to document my progress. I think you already having that mindset of like this is what I'm going to do and not really what I want to do is what you're going to do. Like you're already on the right track. So proud of you, girl. You're gonna be a
Thank
professional
you.
dancer, girl.
Thank you.
Anyone else? You don't have to share if you don't want to. I completely understand. I'm asking you to be vulnerable. So say yes to saying no to me. I won't take it personal.
I think I already started the accepting compliments, but also not adding any I think I want to call it like fluffy language,
Mhm.
especially in emails and if it's possible, like, no, this is what I need and I'm gonna be straight to the point. But when someone said, "Oh, I really liked the thing that you did," I really wanted to say, like, you know, it was short, so it was easy. You know, you like excuse it
Yes.
and just taking that compliment and moving forward. But I also kind of feel like probably the oldest in here and still not mature enough to be good with all the no's.
Oh,
And a
girl.
lot of that Well, the thing is a lot of it doesn't have to do with the adults, it has to do with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I got really frustrated with an administration today that I was like, I don't think you know what I'm doing out here. And so I have to pick a kid right now. I have to cancel one kid and go to another kid. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pick the administration that's being nicer, which is not kind to the kid. You know what I'm saying? That's not about the yes, because it's kids who really need a service. And so, and then I'm like, oh, I should be better at how I interact with them. That's so I'm still like, I still don't have that yes or no answer.
And that's okay. I think even just taking away from Shonda and just having that self-awareness. Like she wasn't always in the perfect like yes or no space. She was working through it. So you're kind of working through that. And I also agree with your point of like not having so much fluff in between what I need to say, like just being direct and concise because I do the same thing to my emails. It's like why am I adding all of this extra verbiage when it doesn't need that? Like, just get straight to the point and say what you want to say. And it's like, a part of me is like, am I doing it to be kind or am I doing it to like try to blend in some other like hard things that I need to say? Like, am I trying to just like try to stuff it in there so that it's over, like it's just like mixed into all of the fluff. So, I'm with you on that, girlfriend. I really am. Because it's just like it can be very hard to be direct, especially when it's something that's tough to be direct about. And it's just like you gotta remove the fluff and just get straight to it.
Don't let me forget this right here. Don't let me forget that.
I'm also really not good at not only confrontation, but I had to have a hard conversation with families that like are kind of close because their kid said something not nice to my kid.
Mhm.
And then they were like, they came back and were like, well, we found out he said he didn't say it. And I'm like, you
Shoot.
can believe your kid at any level, but
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna fight with you till the end and tell you what the right parenting way is because I really wanted to be like, that's their truth, wherever you're at. And then I'm like, now that sounds condescending. I just left them on red. And that's like the hardest thing for me to do is just walk away from that conversation and like, okay, I said what I needed to say and it's done.
Yeah. I'm proud of you. There are some moments where you get it. There's some moments where you don't. You just like figure it out as you go. So um so we are coming to like the end of the discussion, and before we switch gears, if you will, oh, that's like so professional, like professional verbiage. Okay. Before we switch and start talking about like what's next, does anyone have anything else they want to say about Year of Yes before we talk about next month's book and if you all have any recs?
What's the next book for next month? I'm a little late. I'm on Chicago time. I'm Shayla,
Oh,
everyone. Hi.
hi, Shayla. It's okay. I did record this, so if you want to go back and watch it, you totally can. I'll just upload it to YouTube tonight after like says and I get it up there. So it should be by morning at latest. But next month book is Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. It just came out today. I don't have my copy with me, but let me pull it up. We did read her first book, which was Black Cake, back in April of 2022. But the cover looks like this for Good Dirt, kind of like blurry. Um,
Okay, nice.
and this one is actually it's like a mix of historical fiction and contemporary fiction, multi-generational. I feel like that's better to say what it is. And it's like about a family heirloom and the death of a brother, and like the main character is a girl who's kind of like trying to make peace with these things and uncover how the family heirloom is how it's going to help her with her future. I haven't read it yet. There are some people who like it, there are some people who don't, but I feel like if you read Black Cake, you will like it. And I feel like at the end of the day, it makes for a really good book club discussion book because of the way that she writes. A lot of people said that she writes like it's very cinematic, so it made sense for Black Cake to be adapted, her first book to be adapted to a TV series. If you watch that, that was on it is on Hulu still, I believe.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw Black Cake.
yeah, so if you like Black Cake, it's the same author. It's the same author. So I'm excited for it just because normally when a lot of people don't like a book, I end up loving it. But that's just me. And I also really love multi-generational stories. So I think it'll be fun to like, even if not a good read, it'll be fun to like strip it down and talk about it with y'all. So she does make good book club fiction.
I just read this and I just jumped. That's the thing is I always just say yes to so much that I just jump. You're like, we're reading this. I would never have picked that book up ever. I probably would never have finished it. But I'm like, it's a book club book. I'm going to get through this. Not that I hated it. I just kept going. But I was like, yeah, I requested it from the library, and then I just went and read it, the synopsis, and that sounds so black cakey in that, like what you said, historical, but it takes place in New England, and that is my home. So, and I just finished reading Own a Judge, Never Caught, which is a nonfiction, and then I read the fiction, who was one of the people that George Washington enslaved, and she went to New Hampshire. So very excited now. Now I'm mad that it just came out. It's probably gonna take forever. I'm not gonna be able to get my book club.
Yeah, it did. It just came out today. So let's see. But again, do you have Spotify? See if you can get it on Spotify. You can borrow it or listen to it on Spotify.
I just have 100 libraries.
One of them will give you the copy. It's gonna come from somewhere. So yeah, we're reading that for February, and then I am starting to like pick the next set of books. So if anyone has any recs or any books that they want to read, I know for some series that we've read as a book club, the third book in the Legendborn series comes out in March. So that will probably be the April book club pick. And maybe we can do like a maybe we can do like a little blitz where everyone just
Huh?
reads Legendborn. And it's not just exclusive to book
It's gonna
club,
make
it's
it close.
one. Um, and then another series we have is the Skyland series, Kennedy Ryan. The third book of that comes out April. I may be lying. May. Anyways, it does come out. See, everyone's screaming and shouting. I'm excited for it too. I am excited for it because Hendrix was one of my favorite characters in both of the and Before I Let Go and the other one. So yeah, excited for that. Yes, comes out in May. So maybe it can be the May book club pick. I'm not sure yet. I'm not fully committed to which month, but I'm sure everyone's gonna read it. But do y'all have any other books that you have your eyes on that you want to read as a book club or that you think we should talk about? I'm always open to recommendations.
I like a lot of self-growth books, but I would just like to have just maybe another time with Atomic Habits again. I feel like I did digest that a little quicker than I wanted to, so maybe that one again.
Okay. I think Atomic Habits is written by a white man, I believe. So with this book club, we do only read books by Black authors. Um,
Oh yes, got you. My bad.
yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. Like I have tried to present to them to open it up because when I first started the book club, it was just like, "Oh, okay, this makes perfect sense, but it can be very restricting. So I do always encourage people to join other book clubs within the year, like don't feel like you can't like skip a month or whatever, or if you want to read with a different book club, I do not take it personal because it can be restricting to only read books by Black authors. But it was just a way for us to come together and like have a consistent space where it's like, okay, we are reading Black authors, like we're devoted to that, and just making sure that we are supporting Black writers. Um, but any other like self-help books, I'm totally open to it. I think that's the one thing that we do shy away from as a book club is that we're always in fiction, which is why I was like really excited that a lot of people voted for Year of Yes to be our first book of the year because it is like a memoir. It is more along the lines of self-help. So just being able to like start the year new, um I'm always here for it. So if you think of any self-help books about any Black authors, please feel free to let me know. And I'll research some self-help books that are similar to Atomic Habits or have that same undertone that are written by Black authors that we could read together. Maybe like in the halfway mark of the year so we can kind of check in and see like, okay, we read this memoir on saying our Year of Yes, and then we have a new self-help book and can kind of unpack that as a check-in. As far as S.A. Cosby, we have not read any of his books as a book club, but I've read all of his books except My Darkest Prayer. And he does have a new book coming out this year that I'm excited for. So I may pick that as a book club book just because he is a phenomenal thriller suspense writer. Okay. Agree for the halfway
I
mark.
just I just couldn't finish. I just got so sad at Blacktop. I just
Yeah.
I but you know what? I felt that way about what's the man one that we read?
Mhm.
There's like an old author from the 50s. I just got through it. B. Thomas, right? Oh God. I'll think of it. I'll think of it.
Is it the I did a new thing by Oh yeah.
Yes, that's yep,
Native
that's
I'm
the
Son.
thing. Yeah,
I'm
that one
I'm
I
Googling,
can't
then I
wait.
looked at the chat and see you put it there. Okay. I will keep that one in mind for our halfway mark.
Dante, did you read Lone Women?
No.
Okay, because like
I
Victor,
last year was really hard for me. Like I kept
I'm
starting
okay. It's okay. Don't excuse yourself. Just know, okay? It's okay.
look at me already. Yeah, but no, I did not finish that one. I would like to revisit it because a lot of people said it's good. Um, but yeah, I have a soft spot for Victor.
Yes. After that book now too, I'm like, I need so much more of his stuff.
Thank you for coming, LaShira. It was nice to meet you. Yeah, we're about to end this soon anyway. So, um, yeah, I'm
It was
writing.
Native Son. Remember we read Native Son?
Oh yeah, Native Sons.
But
You,
anything else that we could go back, uh, I would love to. I've done like a couple Octavia Butlers,
mhm.
but any oldies.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to move away from just all like new releases. So then like it gives people a better chance of getting it through the library and also getting the audiobook or the paperback if those are out. So yeah, I'm definitely doing that. That's why I picked Acts of Forgiveness because it is in hardcover, but it does come out in paperback um later this month. Acts of Forgiveness is the March book club pick. But yeah. At any time, if you all have any other like books you want to read or you see something on Instagram, just send it to me or send it in Discord. I'll see it and then I'll be able to like see if we can read it. So I do thank y'all so much for coming to book club. Shayla's at work. Shayla's a working woman.
Yeah, no, I see you. Sorry.
You're okay. But yeah, if no one has anything else, I'm gonna go ahead and end the Zoom now. I thank y'all so much for coming, and I hope to see y'all next month.
Nice meeting everyone. Bye.